Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We've got a special episode today as Giants fans prepare to say farewell to an icon of the organization. We're reacting to the news that Mike Krukow is retiring after this year. Plus, we've got Giants at Rangers, mailbag questions, and more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Get moving towards better sleep at Mancini's Sleep World. We guarantee the best price and free next day delivery at Mancini's. Stop by or visit sleepworld.com to see what's currently available. Okay, Alex, we are, of course, recording this on Thursday, a day late, because a big announcement was made today in the world of the San Francisco Giants. Mike Krukow, longtime broadcaster, incredible big leaguer from before our time, announced he is hanging it up after 36 years in the broadcast booth.
He is. Also, I realized today a lot of Mike Krukow swag out there. I have a Mike Krukow shirt. I have a Mike Krukow tiki mug. I have a Mike Krukow grab some pine meat gnome. So I think there's a lot hanging around with. There was a bobblehead one time, I think, with him and your dad.
Couple bobblehead. Yeah. I should get that tiki mug out and have a cocktail out of it tonight in his honor.
We will have it in his honor. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the player stuff because it's been so long that I think people forget. He finished third in the Cy Young balloting one year. He was an all-star 1 year. 124 career wins in the big leagues, 3.9 ERA. A very good pitcher. I spent my entire day pretty much not just reporting, but going through other people's memories and seeing things on social media. And I one that I enjoyed was the Mets broadcast talking about it, and Keith Hernandez talking about how just a pain in the ass Mike was as a pitcher on those Mets teams in the 80s. So I think a lot of, you know this because you're very close to the family, but I think the next 2 months we are going to see so many people have so many memories of Mike Krukow, and this is a sad day, but I'm also kind of looking forward to everyone who comes into town. I think there's going to be someone in that front office or coaching staff or on that broadcast team who has just a memory they want to share.
Yeah, going through today and reading everyone's, especially the fans, but you're right, all the different players around the league he played with, their memories and comments it was a lot. I mean, I was thinking last night about this and was kind of like, this is going to be a big episode of the podcast, big day for the Giants, but I don't think it quite sank in for me until the announcement was actually made, like the magnitude of this.
Yeah.
Kruk and Kuiper in people's homes all year long. Their voices are the ones coming straight through the TV and radio, not the players. People see them as friends and family. So I was at work today and I had to step out and dry my eyes reading some of the stories people were putting on the internet about interactions they've had with Mike. Just favorite memories of Mike. It's the end of an era.
I pulled a few aside just from national people that I want to get to a little bit later in our show, but there was one that someone sent me on social media today that I wanted to read because I really enjoyed this one. It was the guy who said he was in 2004. He came to a Giants game. He was at Momo's across the street, and he sat next to a bearded guy who saw that he was Scottish, and so this bearded guy ordered him a whiskey. He said, we were chatting, we had some coffee, some whiskey, talked about Scotland, the Zodiac Killer, anything but baseball. After about an hour, he got up and went to the ballpark, and he realized later that he was sitting next to Mike Krukow the whole time. So I think we're going to have a ton of these. I've been, one of the favorite parts of my job over the last 15, 16 years has been getting to know your father really well, getting to know Mike really well, John, Dave. But in the case of your dad and Mike, I was thinking, it's hit me today. I'm 41 years old. They did this for 36 years. My entire baseball life, because you don't remember anything beyond a certain point, my entire baseball life has been narrated by these two guys. And it is, and now I'm lucky enough to call them friends and guys who I've worked with quite a bit over the years. And as Michael tells me, every single time I call him, he says, call me, we're going to talk baseball. And any single time you call him, he's yesterday I called him because I heard this was happening and had to write a story. And at the end, he wanted to talk about how excited he was by just the vibe he saw from this young group for 2 days. So we're going to have a lot of time to celebrate him. But yeah, definitely a tough day, I think, for anyone who's gotten to know him.
Yeah, it's obviously he's still going to be around. I'm sure I've not seen the last of Mike Krukow. I really hope he's still able to stay in the mix for Giants fans. But my relationship with him is so different than the broadcast version. I mean, we the Krukows have kids my age. Chase is my age. Wes is my sister's age. There's 2 older kids, Tess and Bacon, or 3 older kids, Tess and Bacon, Jarek. So we've gone on family vacations together, so many dinners together. They really were like cousins more than anything. And I'll never forget going down to SLO when I was touring colleges, deciding where I wanted to go to school. And the Krukow said, you got to check Cal Poly out. So me and the family went down. My buddy David joined us because he was looking as well. Agreed. Thumbs down, Alex. And Mike loves music. And Mike also has this infectious like salesman vibe where if he's excited about something, that's what is happening. You can't say no. That is now the plan. So he was explaining to us how they have a family jam band that they get together and rock out. And next thing you know, he has organized a Kuiper family jam band. And we are the least musically inclined family you'll ever meet. I look around, I'm at a drum set. I've never touched drums. My sister's at a piano. My buddy David's on a bass guitar. He's never touched a guitar. And Mike is like he's running it like a concert. And the garbage noises we're making sound like Mozart to him just because he's so positive and so like he created this. And it was awesome. That's the Krukow household. It was a lot of fun, a lot of music. And I just have so many memories, such different memories than the Giants fans listening to this podcast, because much like the players, like it's the off the field stuff that I feel like I was so lucky to be part of throughout those 36 years.
I do want to push back on what you obviously, I mean, he's basically like an uncle to you, I'm sure. You say so different than what Giants fans have. I think what's actually really special is that a lot of Giants fans feel like he's also their uncle. So
that's a great point. I do feel like Kruk and Kuip have that unique situation where they do feel like a lot of the Bay Area feels like they were raised by these 2 guys.
Yeah. And they would also say, and one thing he told me yesterday, which he has told me before, is he has always felt like people invited them into their living room, into their kitchen. So I think it goes both ways. We are going to have so much time to share memories. I wanted to get a couple just news things out of the way as a reporter, just for people who might be wondering. And, I know some people were like, oh, this horrible season. This was purely, I think, came down to health. And Mike, for 2 decades, has been battling a muscle disease. He told me yesterday he wants to keep doing this. I think your dad has said the same thing today, that wanted to continue. He is still, I think, like, look, everyone, I'm sure you make a few more mistakes as you get older, but you listen to a Giants game, I think it sounds like it did 10 years ago for the most part, 20 years ago for the most part, especially when they're apart, when Mike hasn't traveled for so many years. And you listen to some of these like Giant Dodger games and they're in different places and calling it seamlessly. So just, from a pure, why did this happen perspective. And then the other thing that I think you can speak to, I'm sure a lot of people probably freaked out in multiple regards today, but I mean, Dwayne's still going to keep going and still doing well. And he'll be there on, whenever we make this joke, whenever opening day is next year. But, you can be the expert on that one. But
no plans to hang it up on his end. I imagine it was a dream of theirs to call it together, but obviously Mike's found himself health-wise in a really difficult situation and is not retiring because he wants to, but because of inclusion body mycosis.
I think, it's hard to, hard to pronounce, but I think just, it's obviously hasn't traveled for a while. And I would let him to speak to all this. I'll just say, as someone who has been in studio with him, I'm truly amazed by the quality of work that he puts out every single broadcast, knowing what he has been going through.
Yeah. So he's been grinding and he's been dedicated to these past few years, making sure he's still in the broadcast. And it from the split screen, from the special ramps in the broadcast booth so he can get around in his mobility chair. they worked hard to keep him in that booth, and it had to come to an end eventually. 2026 is it. End of an era.
I haven't ruled out, maybe lockout gets really ugly and everyone's like, you know what? Let's just set up a studio in Reno for him in his house.
There we go.
Let him.
How about they Kruk and Kuip broadcast some simulated games like they did in April of 2020?
Someone asked me if they could do an AI version, and I was like, this is probably the only time in the world I would be like, I'm cool with the AI version of something.
Can't capture that energy. Robots could never.
No, you need the pure, you need like the reaction to everything. Robot would not know what to do with a yawning fan.
No, exactly. That Rhino yawn was one of one.
It was.
Any other like standout memories or bits? I want to shout out Grant Brisby, who's excellent, who he wrote in a piece that he did the math in. He has heard Mike speak in his life more than his own father, which I have to imagine is something many like that. The math stands true for baseball fans across the Bay Area, which is shocking and goes to what you were saying about how, these guys are truly family to Giants fans.
Yeah. The first thing that I thought of just when I heard the news was, this is a memory that I've always cherished. And I don't know if I've ever told the story on this podcast, but when you take this job, you just kind of learn not to be impressed by anybody, because you can't be good at this if you are like,
if you're
my friends would lose their mind if they knew I was chatting with Madison Bumgarner right now. The one time that I was really tested early on, when I told myself, just act like you belong. And literally my first day at Oracle Park after spring training, I'm walking to the press box elevator, and I saw two guys coming, and I held the door open for them, and it was your dad, and it was Mike Krukow, and he hit me with a thanks meet, and I almost melted, and I texted all my friends. Like, literally, this is the guy I grew up watching and grew up listening to him call people meat, and he hit me with the thanks meet, and it was still, to this day, one of the favorite things that has ever happened to me in this job. And I never would have imagined I'd, get to spend so much time around him over the years. But at the time, this is 2012, and I'm texting everybody I know, just like, I just met Mike Krukow, and he just called me meat, and I think I might be in. Like,
my knees buckled.
Yeah, it was just, I don't even know if I got in the elevator after that.
Yeah, I got off on the wrong floor. I was so flustered.
My goodness. So, yeah, that was my first memory of
that's
meeting
strong.
him,
One I've been like, not shocked, but smiling to see is how many people from around the country remember him from the MVP baseball EA Sports video games from what would that be? 04, 05, 06 maybe. Because Kruk and Kuip did the play-by-play in color for, I want to say that was the first good baseball video game of that video game era, and kind of like laid the groundwork for everything everyone's playing now. But they were iconic in that as well. We have fans all over in Philadelphia and New York shouting out lines they listened to 1,000 times from that EA Sports game. I was listening to the soundtrack today in the car just to get in the vibe.
One of the best soundtracks of all time.
Just a bunch of alt rock right before it got big. It's a go-to of mine.
It was. I saw a bunch of people, like national people I know, like radio people in Philly and writers in New York, going like, I grew up on that game. I guess I used to be ashamed to admit this, but I'm not anymore, because they're so cool. Like, my freshman year of college, I played a 162 game season on that game, and it just was like, it probably was not the best use of my time as a freshman at UC Santa Barbara, but I got sucked into it. I had to win a World Series. So
absolutely,
literally the soundtrack and those two guys, I mean, it was just blasting through my freshman dorm room for a lot. A couple other things I pulled out here. Obviously a lot of people talking about Mike today. One I enjoyed was from Jason Stark, the great baseball writer. He wrote, "The joy of hearing him call a game with his best friend on earth, Dwayne Kuiper, was one of baseball's greatest gifts. I live in the East, but I can't tell you how many nights I stayed up late because I couldn't stop watching and listening. Didn't even matter who the Giants were playing. You were guaranteed to learn something you never knew. You were guaranteed to laugh. You were guaranteed to come back for more." And then I saw another tweet right after that from a Giants fan who said, Kruk does what every broadcaster should strive for, but few achieve. He makes his listeners better at watching the game. Everything I know about pitching, I learned from Mike. And it was one I thought it was really cool from Jason, who lives in Philly, watching a bunch of Giants. I always wondered how he seemed to know so much about the Giants every time I saw him. And I'm like,
that's what a good broadcast duo will get you.
now he does. And then the second tweet there, which I saw a few of today, was, yeah, these two guys taught generations of baseball fans about baseball. And I say generations plural because we just saw Jackson Flora, in the booth with them.
Yeah.
And he's 21. And Jackson Flora's family probably was watching as well, so it's we are on now, like grandparents watching with their sons, watching with their kids. My kid is, just starting to understand what it all is, and we'll learn from people like this. So yeah, I just thought the tributes were really cool today.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned this earlier about this being the year he went out, and I saw a lot of commentary about like, what a bad season to end on. Oh, the Giants 2026. Just pause with that. I understand there's a lot of frustration about this year, but let's take a step back and let this moment breathe before we make the snarky jokes about what we think of this current organization.
Yeah, and also I think one of the, I think the great gifts he had in something your dad does as well is they're very honest with the viewer, with the listener, and it's really hard to be that honest sometimes about what you're seeing. And I think you see it when you watch other broadcasts or see other sports sometimes, like people who just are incapable of kind of being negative.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought of today was like my favorite call this year was a horrible moment for the Giants was the Ketel Marte walk-off in Arizona, where your dad had to talk through it, but you could tell they were both so disgusted with the way that game ended. And Mike didn't say a word for like the final 45 seconds of that broadcast. And that was something he did often and does often. He's still broadcasting. So it's something he does often. And I think that's like really refreshing and also really valuable that at times and you know him very well, and I know him very well. He's just steaming up there in the press box.
Oh, yeah.
And as annoyed as everybody watching at home and trying to be as professional as he can. But I think the fact that he's always been so honest about what he's seeing is one of his great gifts. And that is why a season like this, I go like, he's still done it through it, right? He's still watched and still criticized, but still been optimistic. He's still excited to come every day. So I don't think it matters what kind of year they're having.
Yeah. You're thinking back to specific calls. Do you remember the home run he did the play-by-play call for? I think it was because my dad's mic was out or something, and he combined all three of the Giants play-by-play guys' home run calls into one with the adios pelota. I think he dropped a voice crack and then did out of here.
It's it's going to be, again, like this season is what it is, but it's going to be a fun part of the last few weeks. I think we can pull up clips like that and have some fun and celebrate some of those times, because this season we'll get to the Rangers series, but it is what it is.
Speaking of celebrating, the Giants announced they're going to be doing a celebration for Mike, the final game of the year against the Dodgers. So now we're counting down to have a good time on September, I believe, 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's 26 more games on NBC Sports Bay Area. So
okay.
This is not, I don't say this because I'm wearing an NBC Sports shirt, but if you were one of the ones who said, I can't watch this team anymore, 26 more games with Kruk and Kuip, good time to tune in.
Exactly. Any specific Mike memories before we move on?
I think I hit them all. I think the one, unless you have any more you want to share, the one thing I just want to move on to is what's next for him and one specific thing. So
yeah, I think the one more note I wanted to hit on is, I think when I think of Mike, and I have to imagine this goes the same for a lot of Giants fans, I think of like him being the fun, goofy guy energy, like the fun uncle who's razzing you, who's making some laughs, who's telling stories, who can just command a room. That's all super valid. But the underrated part of him is how much he's a student of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Like the way he can break down pitches, or the way he is just such an expert at pitch strategy, or I'm sure everyone knows that he keeps like a journal about every MLB ump's strike zone, and it is highly sought after from around the league, and he doesn't share it with anyone, but he's just an expert on all. He's a savant at things related to baseball, in addition to being this hilarious, gregarious storyteller and everything else we love him for.
Yeah, the umpire thing, I don't like. Nobody else does that.
No,
he says it, and he's like, "This guy's a low ball umpire," and you're just like, "Okay,
yeah,
he is. He must be. This is his." So that's unbelievable. And then you mentioned the kind of soaking in knowledge and things like that. I thought it was really cool when Jackson Fora was in the booth, because he's like, "Show me your grips," and you could tell it was like, "No, I actually want to see, like, show me your grips, and I want to see what you're throwing, and I want to see what I'm going to make my determinations." And and probably at the time now, knowing that this was the last year for him, and he's not going to call a Jackson Fora game, but he's like, "No, let's talk ball." So it was, all those things are fun. Again, I know this is a sad day, but got 2 months left, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I want to keep circling back to that, because I was driving home from work today trying to think about what we were going to talk about, and as I went through it in my head, I was like, I'm acting like Mike died. He's very much alive. He's still here. We're celebrating him. We've got a whole 2 months to go.
I mean, let's be real. We're going to force him to come on this podcast constantly.
Absolutely.
So
at least once.
And I asked him yesterday, I said, "Do you want to still be?" He's like, "I'm going to be involved in some way." Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be at the ballpark anymore, but he'll be around, and we'll find ways to get some of that institutional knowledge.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing him tomorrow in person to I don't know, give him my love. Yeah. But let's talk about what's next for Mike, because this is a really, really interesting subject to me. They've obviously been nominated individually for the Ford Frick Award, which is given out by the Hall of Fame for the best broadcaster.
Yeah.
I think, is this kind of put him over the edge now? Is this the kind of thing they've been waiting for? Or better yet, is this the kind of motivating factor to allow Kruk and Kuip to go into the Hall of Fame together?
I will not hide my bias in this one, and we will talk about it often, and I tweeted about it today, and I think it's ridiculous that they don't allow broadcast crews to go in together. I understand it. I have a lot of respect for the people who run the Hall of Fame. I know them a little bit. I really like those guys. I think they do take that job very seriously, and I understand it. And I've asked them, and the explanation does make sense. Like, even the people who run the Hall of Fame know Kruk and Kuip very well, so they understand what they mean to the Bay Area. And the explanation is kind of like, look, there are these duos in a lot of these cities. So there's Kruk and Kuip in the Bay Area, but there are these duos in other cities that you spend 10, 15 years with, and people would say the same thing, like group them together, get them both in the Hall of Fame. I guess my counter would be, I don't know that there's one quite like this. And also, if that's what you're concerned about, doesn't seem too hard to just put in a rule that, like, if you were together for 25 years, you can go in together.
Yeah.
Something like that. Put a really high benchmark, because we're at 36 years here. So you could,
call it the Mike Krukow rule and make it 36 years.
But if you just want to be like, if you just want to be the unbiased Hall of Fame, that's fine. But you could put a 25-year benchmark or a 30-year benchmark or whatever it is. And if you two happen to be together for 30 years or 25 years, you can go in together. Because for me, it's a no-brainer. For me, I would actually be annoyed if I'd be very happy for whoever got in. I'd also be annoyed that they didn't get in together if that happens in the next few years. So I hope, Ken Rosenthal tweeted about it. Buster Olney tweeted about it. I saw some other people with big platforms. I hope there's maybe a little bit of a push to make that a thing, not just for Dwayne and Mike, but for other pairs, because it is just kind of weird. Like, these people are synonymous with each other. It's a broadcast they've been doing together for 36 years, and to put one of them in and not the other is, like, frankly, it's just kind of rude, I think. So I hope that's the next step. I don't have a lot of faith, because I think the Hall of Fame's very strict about certain things. I hope that changes.
Hall of Fame does kind of dig in and say this is how we do things, and the more you try to pressure us, the more we're going to dig in about it.
Yeah.
But this seems like the kind of thing that would be there's no reason not to. This is such an extenuating circumstance, like you said, 35 plus years. They played together and have been best friends since long before that. Um, it they both deserve to be there, and they deserve to do it at the same time.
I think it's actually really easy. Quarter century, 25 years.
Boom.
That knocks out most teams like automatic. Like
Oh,
even some of the other pairs, like nobody gets to 20, 30 years. It's
yeah.
very rare. So I think it's actually very easy to do. And yeah, I'm going to be biased about this, but I think it should happen. I think both of them should be in. I think they should go in together.
Yeah, 100% agree. I understand logistically, maybe this isn't we get what we want, but just a layup for the Hall of Fame here to do what needs to be done.
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll see.
All right, we've got another couple of months of Mike Krukow still ahead of us, so we won't get all of our Krukow energy out here. Let's talk Giants at Rangers. Series starts off strong, but against the Rangers, there's only a certain level of strong or excitement you can have. But Peter's out from there.
It was about as buzzless as 3 games. Just not really huge crowds there. It's very, very hot in Arlington, so I get people probably don't want to leave their house, even though the ballpark is indoors. But I think I think what we do the next 2 months, it's not going to really be about who wins at all.
Yes.
It's going to be about evaluating individuals. So I think here it's evaluating Blade Tidwell, who it was rough at first. And I'll just be fully honest, when he came up, I was very curious. I wanted to see him, but in the back of my head, just kind of all had this thing of like, he could be a really, really, really good reliever, I think. But I was impressed that he held his velocity. It was a little bit less than he said he had in AAA, but he had 96 in the back pocket on his 100th pitch. And if that's kind of your starting point here, that's not bad. I was impressed by what I saw. He's going to go out there every 5 days the rest of the way. And they desperately need somebody because Trevor McDonald had Tommy John surgery this week. And they desperately need somebody to step up. And they have these 2 young guys in the rotation now in Tidwell and Wisenhunt. And they did the opposite thing in Texas. So a struggle for Wisenhunt, continues to kind of show that unless the fastball velocity is a little bit better or there's a little bit more from that slider, it's going to be difficult for him. But I liked what I saw from Tidwell, and I think I will be excited to watch him every 5 days the rest of the way and see, because the league catches up pretty quickly. But first time out, I think that was pretty good.
I want to run through what was going through your head during Game 2 of the series. Rangers tie it up. Giants tie it up to go to the bottom of the 9th. Was there any part of your brain that thought it was going to extra innings? Because really. I don't think there was for me. It was really. Well, of course, this is about to just get walked off here. Doesn't matter who was going to be pitching. Doesn't matter who was going to be batting. Frankly, it just seemed like that was a predetermined.
They showed a lot of fight late in that game, but when it was tied, I still was kind of like, okay, I'm not changing the lead of my game story.
Exactly.
I know where this is headed.
Yeah. So. And that's kind of, I guess, the unfortunate feeling we're getting a lot this season. There were silver linings. Yeah, we got the big Eddie's Leonard moment, who's got a great story just with being in the minor leagues for so many years, so many games, getting his first hit, and the smile they show on the broadcast, how big it was, just kind of reminds you why you love baseball.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like you see guys, I mean, there are guys who have a ton of fun on the field. I don't know if I've ever seen the rounding first on the first career hit and just beaming the whole time. That was really cool. I mean, we're going to have moments like that the rest of the way, which is one of the positives of the way this is going. Look, we're seeing a bunch of new guys. We are seeing as Bryce Eldridge told me the other day, he said we were stretching and we looked around and went, this is the Sacramento Rivercats plus Jung-Hoo Lee now. And obviously Devers and Adames maybe getting treatment at the time or something, but that's basically the situation here. I will say, I did think the energy was really good for a couple of days there after the deadline passed. And there's look, you combine the deadline with all the losing and some of the injuries to veterans and guys like that. It was tough on this group for the last month or so. And
Mm-hmm.
every single day the questions are about Luis Arias and Robbie Ray and, every start these guys make. And it was tough. And I thought the energy was really good. I thought Tony seemed energized by it. He did say multiple times he was just kind of thrilled what he was seeing. And I think it's, we said at the beginning of the year, like this whole season's about evaluating Tony, and we're going to talk about Tony every single time. And I think maybe that's been put to the side because the season's been so bad. But this is a good chance to maybe reevaluate a little bit and see, because this is really as close as he will get to like a Tennessee atmosphere.
Yeah,
And this is a minor league team, essentially. This is a bunch of guys who are trying to prove it, chips on their shoulders, and including like some of his actual Tennessee guys.
exactly.
But even Esnevis Basabe is 25. Leonard is 25. So this is a very young group right now. And he really enjoyed it in Arlington. We'll see if he feels that way in 2-3 weeks. But I'm curious if some of that college energy that we just absolutely didn't see for 4 months, if that shows up here.
I 100% agree. This is now a group of guys who I feel like Tony Vitello can get to run through a wall for him, which is the Tony V we wanted to start the season. And obviously, with how the season went, that energy wasn't quite there. But let's go. Full send now.
Well, I mean, the rally on Tuesday is Gilbert. It's Gilbert, McRae, and Eldridge, right? Against a very tough all-star lefty. So that's a spot that the Giants have gone down 1, 2, 3 in most of the year. And
Yeah.
small sample, obviously, but maybe there's a little bit more to watch than what the roster itself would lead you to believe.
Yeah, more to watch than what the roster says, and even what the box score says. There's little narratives. There's little glimmers of hope for the future. There's a lot of things playing out for the people who appreciate those kind of microcurrents and looking under the hood. That the next few weeks before the season ends still are going to be very interesting.
I think so. I mean, there's still going to be a talent deficit every night, and you at some point hit that wall. But yeah, I think I'm going to be watching Tony closely the next few weeks because he really did seem like once the deadline passed, he was like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders, and it was like, okay, I have this young group. 11 of my 26 guys have spent most of this year in AAA, so let's go. Let's see what we can do.
Well, speaking of that talent deficit, I want to check in on some of the players who were traded around the league, see how they're doing, plus get to some mailbag questions and preview Giants versus Tigers. But first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. A good mattress can improve your posture, reduce back pain, and even help with allergies. Studies show that getting a great night's sleep improves mood, memory, and productivity. A trip to Mancini Sleep World can set you up for your best rest yet. Stop by or visit sleepworld.com to see what's currently available. Okay, I think the first player we have to shout out when we go around our roundup of guys who left the Giants at the start of August is Luis Arias. Obviously, the biggest name traded from the Giants, going to have the biggest impact on the team he went to, and already having an impact.
This was the most predictable part of the trade deadline, that he would go to Philly and just be a hero.
Yep.
I didn't know that it would be 2 at-bats, but he's like might be more popular than LeBron right now. Just he jumped right in, gave him everything they needed. He seems energized by this. I'd heard over and over again the last few weeks from I'd check in with people around him and go, how's Luis doing? And they go, he just wants to win.
Yep.
So I think him being in there, you saw the celebrations from him. I think he showed more juice in 2 days in Philly than he did here. And I get it. He's in the middle of a playoff race all of a sudden. But yeah, he's been tremendous in the last couple of days there. I again pulled a couple tweets out here from Philly people that I saw after this is after his first game. One of them, boy, that was fun. I'm ready to give Arias 3 years, $45 million right now.
Great.
You're a little bit light on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Giants will take that.
Yeah, he might still be here. And then another one that I thought was funny is, I think it was a Philly blogger tweets, I don't think I've flipped on hating a player to liking them faster than I have with Luis Arias. And I kind of just think, not that there was ever any hate here, but I kind of just think that's the Luis Arias experience. Like
100%.
when you watch
Yeah.
him day to day, you just go, holy cow, I love having this guy. So
Phillies fans, famously a tough sell, and
yeah.
he got a standing ovation in Philadelphia.
And we also know, like, he didn't really slump at all when he was here. So
Yeah.
it might be coming, but like, because of who he is, for the most part, he's still, you're going to look up there and he's hitting 330. It's hard to really dip from there.
Yep. Love it. And you put this note in here about home runs, I think is fascinating. Now has more homers at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia this year than at Oracle Park in San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's a hitter's park, but he yanked that right off the foul pole. And I'm like, there was a Chick-fil-A sign at Oracle. So,
where was that? That's out in any ballpark.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Looking around beyond that, Elliot Ramos, 1 for 7 in 2 games. Got overshadowed by another Yankees prospect call-up.
Yeah, George Lombard shows up the same day. And
sorry, Elliot.
I was watching the game and watching his first at bat, or maybe his second at bat, and Lombard had just made like a solid defensive play, and all they're doing is replaying it over and over again. So, a little bit of pressure off of him. He did. I don't know if you saw this. He got a double, and he started going into the Giants celebration.
Oh,
and then
good.
Had to adjust.
I never really figured out what it was. Is it Mad Max?
I don't know. People have asked. I've asked a few. Haven't gotten a great answer. So
we get a lot of mailbag questions about those. I do kind of appreciate them being an inside joke with the players that we're not all privy to.
I think that's why I can't get a straight answer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We should remember. People should like screen grab it, and the next year I will say, okay, what was this?
Yeah. Well, I think I saw in Texas them doing a faux scooter, and I can only assume what that could possibly be a reference to.
I was told it was Suzak like unhitching the wagon as he was.
All right, I'll take that. That's a good cover story.
Explanation. I don't know if I buy it, but
hey, yeah, works for me. All right, good. Elsewhere, Caleb Killian. Not quite the Luis Arias debut for Killian. He comes in a non-save situation and blows the game.
It was 4 runs, I think, in the 11th inning.
Yeah.
For a guy who I think is actually like has the makings of being a pretty good reliever, he is very prone to huge innings. So
yeah,
he's had like 4 of them this year now.
Yeah. So rough for him. Not the best first impression, but hey, what can you do?
Yeah, and then Robbie Ray will start Friday, so we'll see what happens there.
See what happens there. And then not quite a 2026 trade deadline name, but a name from many trade deadlines ago, rather a guy who ruined a trade deadline. Alex Dickerson has officially announced his retirement. Guy just brought some juice. Yeah. Oh, breaking news for Alex here. Brought some juice to the Giants at a juiceless era. Really, we had a lot of fun with Alex Dickerson.
The Dickerson chant was tremendous.
Yeah.
So
go. We're going to keep this Philly train alive. Go out there and have a cheesesteak in his honor.
All right, Alex Dickerson. Good for him. Last time we saw him in San Diego earlier this year. He was playing like independent ball and coaching. So
exactly.
He does want to coach. So maybe we'll see him again.
Hey, works for me. Let's get to some mailbag questions from listeners, Alex. Our first question is from Tonichi. Can you talk about what the deadline, say, is like for beat writers? Do you all connect and compare notes? Is there a competition like Shams and Waj seem to have? Do you spend it talking to front office folks? What's the deadline like for Alex? I was wondering this as well, because we sat down to podcast and you had some dark circles under your eyes.
I slept like 2 hours the night before that. So I had an energy drink at like 9 o'clock at night and was just like, this is going to just go poorly all the way around. So
that's a tactical error.
Yeah, it was a mistake when I came to the next night. But what's it? You know what? It alternately sucks because it's like you're literally on call from like, I mean, you think about like the Elliot Ramos trade that comes late, but that could have happened at any point for like 72 hours.
Yeah.
And just blow up everything whatever you're doing, whatever lunch you're having, if you're hanging with your family or whatever. But it is also really fun to cover and fun to talk about. And it's changed because there is an element of like, yeah, there's like a Sham Schefter element here now where like
first to the tweet.
Yeah, almost everything comes from like 3 or 4 people. So you're generally playing catch up. You're trying to get, I think I was pretty close to first on a couple names and things like that, or first on a couple names. But I think one thing that's happened for me just personally the last few years is I always think in terms of the podcast now. And like, so
I'm honored.
Yeah, but it's just like, I think one thing I try to do and one thing we try to do here is afterwards tell you why it happened, what happened, who's coming, as opposed to just like spending your entire life trying to be the first one to find out that Tyler Malley's going elsewhere. You will find out 20 seconds later anyway. So, but deadline day is really hectic. The day before is really hectic. I do really love being past it because there is just an element of being glued to your phone for a long time for a few weeks there.
Do you have leaderboards with the other local guys to see who's broken the most?
No, I honestly, like, I don't think, and this is, I think this is just being honest. Like, I think it's like the same 3 national people who break almost everything.
Yeah.
And it's in basketball, it's 1 person. In the NFL, it's like 2 people. So it is what it is. Like that's become a very specific job. And those people, some of them, borderline probably on the payrolls at some places. Like I don't know.
Don't forget, every once in a while we get an arson judge that sneaks through.
You do every once in a while get that, but yeah, I think it is what it is. So I don't worry about that as much. It's great to like break stuff, but
yeah,
it's become, I will say, like, just knowing, and I'm still pretty plugged in on things, but just a lot of these things get out and then you check on it and it's like guys are still going through physical processes. And so these things get out so early sometimes. And yeah, I mean, we've learned that lesson here as well with like Carlos Correa and things like that. And so yeah, we try to just come back in emergency pod and tell you why it happened or what happened or look forward.
Thank you for your service this trade deadline. It is a very, very busy time. I'm not even close to your job, and I still skipped going to San Diego for that road trip with my family because I was like, I'm going to be on podcast duty. I gotta be ready at all times. I can't be prowling the Gaslight District.
Yeah. I mean, you are kind of just ready to go at all times, and every flight you take, and I flew the night before, and you're pulling up that Wi-Fi tab, just like, God, I hope it works.
Yeah,
it almost works. It almost always works, but
you don't go catch a matinee of the Odyssey on trade deadline day.
I was gonna go see it actually on Tuesday because I'm like, all right,
It's over.
It's over. But it's so long.
Yeah,
that there's you'd have to wake up for like an 8 a.m. showing the day after the trade deadline. So that'll have to wait.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Great question to Nietzsche. Next question is from Starting Block. Has there been a more beloved Giant that was only here for 6 months than Luis Arias?
That's a great question.
It is.
I think this is one we have to like almost open up to like.
So I'm imagining a world where the Giants didn't play as bad as they did, but still had to sell at the deadline. They're hovering a little under 500. And I think that would have taken him to the next tier for me as like just all-time beloved memories. But I did put together a few guys who I wouldn't say are necessarily more beloved, but at least came to mind for me.
Dan Ugla?
Dan Ugla's a great, good Giant. Good Giant. Chris Bryant. I know obviously he has lore about him years later, but his short tenure as a Giant, I absolutely loved him. What he did in the postseason that year was fantastic. I was so pro re-signing Chris Bryant that you should never make me the GM of a baseball team. Andres Galarraga.
Good one.
Half year with the Giants. I loved the big cat in a Giants uniform as a kid. I was all about him. And then this next guy, same situation. Kenny Lofton was my guy when he was a Giant.
That's a good one as well. That was that one includes like postseason. So
yeah,
there's, what the answer here, but he ended up re-signing, and not doing anything would have been Marco Scudero.
I was going to say Cody Ross, but yeah, you've got a couple of guys who had that 6 months, had that half a year, and then ended already. They're a lock for Giants Hall of Fame legend, and then they re-signed and started piling on there. And then I want to throw Kevin Pillar in the mix as well. I remember when he left, Giants were shocked at the emotional reaction from fans.
They actually were not, because they called beat writers to kind of be like, this is why we're doing it, because this is why we're non-tendering.
So you warned them.
They knew how bad it was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that sounds crazy, like Kevin Pillar, and you're like, what? You can't do this. But if you could go back to Twitter that day, the anger over not bringing Kevin Pillar back.
People melted down.
Very high. So that's a good one. I think in my head, I have more guys who really struggled for short stints, like as opposed to the success stories. I think of like the Casey McGee runs and things like that. But this is good. Well, if people have ideas on this, I think we can take some names here.
I would love to take some names here. And I will remind people, I don't know that any of those four are quite more than Arias, but they're who came to mind.
Yeah, good list.
Garrett asks, with all the young talent now on the team, is this an opportunity for Tony Vitello to develop these players and replicate the success he had at Tennessee? Garrett, where were you 30 minutes ago?
I know. Good question.
Good question.
That question. We were ahead of you. I don't think he's going to win a national championship, but beyond that, we talked about this. So
yeah. Jake says, I saw Richmond put Dakota Jordan on the IL. Is this more bad news for Giants fans?
I'm not sure. I think it's a groin injury. He went back to Arizona to get it checked. I have not heard how serious it was. It did not seem horrible, but I think I've said it here a couple times. He's very highly thought of within the organization.
Yeah.
So it would be a bummer if he missed his real time here at the end of the AA season. But I think it's a groin strain.
And then one more from George. There hasn't been any Randy Rodriguez news in a while. Do you guys know how he's doing?
I do. I asked about him a couple weeks ago. He's doing great. He's hitting every check mark in the rehab. As they plan their 2027 bullpen, something we will do here as well. That is locked in. Like Randy's going to be ready to go. He's going to be well beyond ready to go. So should be full strength, ready to go whenever spring training happens next year. And I don't know, I think some people automatically pencil him in as the closer. I don't know that they're going to do that, but they do pencil him in as at the very least like the 7th, 8th inning weapon that he was before he went into the 9th. Remember, he also at times in the 9th didn't look like as dominant as before.
Yeah, so, he was one of those guys who was like, give the Tyler Rogers and now the Killian, give him anything but the 9th and he can handle it. It's
not quite as bad, I don't think, but I think the ideal plan would probably be to get someone who's more familiar with the 9th inning and have him in that role that he was in, where he was just wiping people out and, wiping through the heart of a lineup in the 7th inning.
Yeah.
And making it easier for you from there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Those are our mailbag questions today. If you have questions for me or Alex on Giants Talk, feel free to send them wherever you can find either of us on social media. We'll add them to our list for an upcoming episode. I checked my phone before we sat down. I had about 70 Instagram messages. I assume most about Mike Krukow. I'll sift through those for mailbag questions tonight in bed.
We're going to do a full mailbag episode.
Seriously. All right, let's talk Giants Tigers. This is a big weekend, mostly because we're having a very fun ceremony on Saturday. Before we get to that, Alex, who do we have pitching?
It's TBD for the Giants on Friday. Could be a bullpen game. Could be Adrian Hauser leading the way with an opener. We'll see what they do there. And then Roop and Webb behind him. And for the Tigers, it's Montero, Joe, and Melton. So they obviously had some rotation changes recently.
Yeah. I mean, last I checked in on them, they had 2 check marks next to their name in the World Series. What happened?
No longer. No longer. But not really. Surprisingly, for the fact that Scott Harris is there, every time a team comes in, we go through their roster.
Yeah.
Really nobody. Justin Verlander is the only familiar face, and he's on the injured list. So,
all right. Well, if you see Scott, give him a piece of my mind about the Scooble situation.
I will. But yeah, I thought we'd have more
Yeah.
holdovers in Detroit.
It seems like a lot of the coaching guys who left as the Kapler coaching tree makes its way throughout the league have been acquiring former Giants, but not as many as you'd expect in Detroit.
Well, Pete went to Atlanta and just took all of them. So,
there we go. There we go. Let's talk giveaways, promotions, celebrations. Sunday is corduroy hat night. Friday is Top Gun night. And Saturday, most importantly, is a celebration of Brandon Crawford, Joe Panic, Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, and Pablo Sandoval. A very, very fun day at Oracle Park.
It is. The infielders, they're putting them in together. An interesting one because Buster's president of baseball operations, so he's around all the time. And Brandon Belt had a full day like 3 months ago.
Yep.
But it'll be fun. Get the whole group together. And those days are always fun. I've heard there's a really big crowd coming in terms of former teammates and guys like that. So I'm looking forward to remembering some guys on Monday.
Oh, I cannot wait. These are always so much fun. I can't wait to see Pablo Sandoval out there. Can't wait to see who makes a special appearance. You know, there's those couple of Bigfoot-esque characters who, when they do pop up, is always the biggest thing in the world. I haven't heard any rumors about who could potentially be in the mix, but obviously looking out for those, looking out for everything we can.
I'll finish with a question for you.
Yeah.
Is this all the ceremonies they've done? They do a great job. Is this the closest we've ever come to like you're going to look at that infield and then kind of look at the lineup and go, I bet Pablo could jump in there.
Exactly what I was thinking. Do you remember when Brian Wilson came out to throw out that pitch and he showed up in cleats?
Yeah, I think
it was a tryout to him. That is what I want. I want these 3 guys or 4 guys to suit up and take the field on Saturday, because why not?
I mean, they've had so many days where it's like, okay, Barry Bonds is out there in a suit. Will Clark, it's been decades and you can make the jokes. These guys literally are like still in their late 30s.
Yes.
And some of them are very close to their playing days. So
you're telling me Joe Panic couldn't turn 2 in a beautiful, silky smooth way this weekend?
Get him out there.
Yeah. Get him out there. You're telling me Brandon Belt couldn't pick that high throw from Panic just to save the day? Come on.
We're getting ahead of the jokes. They're it's gonna be an interesting one when look, the lineups they're putting together. They are what they are.
They are what they are. We'll talk about all of this after it happens, when Giants Talk comes back after the Tigers series. Until then, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Send us mailbag questions. Send us glowing reviews. Send us your who is more beloved than Luis Arias in a short stint.
Yeah.
Send us your Mike Krukow stories. Send us that and much more. Go buy Alex's book, and we will be back.
You know what?
With more Giants Talk.
Actually, that's a great one. I do want the short stint, guys, but we have 2 months left here. I want to hear your ran into Mike Krukow, like on the street at a bar. Let's get some of those stories, and we'll get those together for late in the year.
Yep, there it is. There's your homework, fans.